This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1657, Previews!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek, uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Everly.
Comic Geek Speak.
And welcome to the show. Yes, in this episode, we're going to go through the latest previews catalog. In this case, it's the June 2017 catalog for items shipping to stores mostly starting in August of 2017. And as always, these previews episodes are brought to you by our sponsor, Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. Because, as always, when you pre-order from them, any DC, Marvel, Dark Horse or Image title, they are right away 40% off cover price. Most other publishers between 20 and 35% off cover price. And they do run often many specials where they have sometimes 45, 50, 60, even up to 75% off cover price items. They also continue to have many bundles where they will take like titles and put them together and for one low price, because they still have many of the DC Rebirth bundles going on. Also, one of their mainstays is when you pre-order from them any new DC or Marvel trade or hardcover, they are 50% off cover price. They offer shipping weekly, twice monthly or monthly. You can add bags and boards. Use them for many years. They're great. Please check them out. Discount Comic Book Service at dcbservice.com. All right. Well, before we get, again, into the previews catalog, Adam, you have something from the CJ's mailbag to go through?
Yes. It's a package. It was sent to us from the Pacific Coast, as it turns out, from Seattle.
Okay.
The Emerald City itself.
That's
from
up on the Pacific Coast, all right.
From listener Joey Yee of
Okay.
Seattle. And so I'm kind of intrigued as to what this is. It looks about the right size and shape of like an inch-high stack of comics. So let's just see what's inside. Oh, and looking me right in the face is Cyforce.
Cyforce?
Cyforce.
Oh, PSI Force, right.
Well,
Is that right?
it's spelled PSI. But
Well, yeah, PSI Force.
I haven't read it, but
Well,
I'm assuming
it's
it's Cyforce as in psionic powers. You know.
Aha! Oh, is that New Universe stuff?
It is. That's why.
I just saw that.
That's why the
Well,
words
all right,
New
I'm sorry.
Universe appear on the
Let me
banner.
Shut
right
up and go. What? You speak now.
there. Okay. Okay. There's no actual message enclosed. It would appear it's just a just a shipping manifest of sorts.
Okay.
But it does reveal, however, that Joey spent $10 to mail this thing to me. So, thank you, Joey. I think this is probably related to my mentioning a couple episodes ago how on our trip to Chicago I was reading Starbrand.
Right.
And that's my first real exposure to the new universe that Marvel put together. So I guess Joey was inspired by hearing that to let me dip my toe a little deeper in here. And so he sent me the first 10 issues of the Psi or possibly PSI Force series.
Nice.
It's the per square inch force. That's they fight crime with air pressure and
That's
stuff.
right.
Yes, they're a roadside assistant super team. That's check your tire gauges.
Very good.
Yep. All right. So thank you, Joey.
All right.
And I am pretty sure that at some point there will be more New Universe comics appearing in the studio.
How?
I've been given by the same method, just from a different source.
Oh, wow.
I've been given to know that there's more on the way.
Are people just clearing out their long box when they hear, oh, my God, you dumped us off on this guy?
Who likes New Universe? Sucker! Well, I'm only too happy to try it because it was kind of a bold experiment in comics marketing back in those heady days of the 80s. And it's limited duration since, it kind of didn't succeed all that well. Mm-hmm. So there's a finite amount of New Universe stuff out there, and I've been told that some of it is actually kind of non-sucky. So I'd like
what a ringing endorsement that is.
Yeah. Well, I actively like Starbrand, having read the first and only traded volume of it. So I would like to hunt down the rest of that, if nothing else.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, Chris, why don't you get another plug-in for your upcoming Wild Pig sale?
Thanks, honey. Once again, we're having the biggest back issue sale in our store's history. June 17th and 18th, Saturday and Sunday at Wild Pig Comics, 14 South Michigan Avenue, Kenilworth, New Jersey. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday, noon to 8 p.m. We're bringing in over 15,000 new, or I should say fresh back issues, hundreds of used trades, scores and scores of pop figures at $5 a piece. Every comic will be 25% off. And once again, we're going to have total over 40,000 back issues in the shop for that weekend, over 175 long boxes on the floor, everything from high-grade wall books to 50-cent books, extensive runs of titles, especially Marvel from the Bronze and Copper Ages. If you're a back issue fan, please, any way you can make it, you will not be disappointed. Every time when I'm not teaching or dealing with my family, I am working on comics. I mean, my garage, my house, my wife is very tolerant. I'm trying to get everything ready. I picked up 2 very large collections, and between them, books from last year all the way through the 1960s, going in reverse. So it's an awesome. I must say, it's an awesome array of back issues we're going to have out for customers. So I hope to see listeners there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, then let's jump right into the previews, gentlemen. Catalog. Again, this is the June 27 catalog for items shipping to stores mostly beginning in August of 2017.
All right. Dark Horse.
Well, this is looking like another light catalog month for yours truly. Not much in the Dark Hawk part. Dark Hawk, yeah. Wish the word Dark Hawk part of the catalog. No, not much in Dark Horse for me. But I'm buying, true to my word, a few episodes ago, I am going to try to just shout out everything I'm actually buying, even if I'm not talking about it in too much detail. But from Dark Horse, I'm buying Black Hammer and Rebels, These Free and Independent States, and I think that's about it.
Well, for me, page 48 and 49, to concur with you, Mert, is the bountiful part of the Dark Horse section for me. I'm reading Briggs Land Lone Wolves, which hasn't actually come out yet, but I love the first arc of Briggs Land by Brian Wood about, again, a sort of separatist family living on their own compound in upstate New York, and the intrigue and politics within that family. It's tremendous. Rebels is Free and Independent States. I mean, this issue is dealing with George Washington's role when he was a young militia commander in the French and Indian War. I cannot wait to read that. Many people may not realize that George Washington, as a inexperienced officer, incidentally sort of set off the entire French and Indian War. And it looks like this story is going to go into that. And of course, I'm reading Black Hammer by Jeff Lemire and Dave Rubin, which we've talked about this book many times on the air. If you're a fan of sort of revisiting, Golden Age concepts, but through a more sort of sordid lens, this is the book for you. So those are my main Dark Horse books that I'm reading. I also want to point out on page 50, they're putting in a trade Michael Chabon's The Escapists, which is Brian K. Vaughan, which alone should demand a purchase if you haven't read this. His take on some of the characters from the universe of Cavalier and Clay, which we've all read that book, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't read it. I have a copy of it lying around somewhere.
It's tremendous. It won the Pulitzer Prize, and it deserved to. And The Escapist, of course, is the comic book creation of Cavalier and Clay, and this is Vaughn sort of realizing adventures of that character. So that's also highly recommended.
Well, we might as well give a mention to something on pages 38 and 39. It's from Mike Mignola, and it's a original graphic novel in hardcover form, and it's kind of a vampire. It's a tale of an unlikely novice vampire hunter. Just a man who recently lost his wife and ends up stumbling into the underworld of vampires and the human beings who stalk them. And it's kind of a parody of vampire conventions from one of the masters of monster and horror-related comics, Mike Mignola of Hellboy. It's on sale for 50% off at dcbservice.com for $7.49.
All right. DC, gentlemen? Dark Knights Metal #1. Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo. Another crossover event. The must-read comics event of the summer begins.
Dark Multiverse. It involves a new dimension of the multiverse concept that Scott Snyder is introducing to us. So for that reason alone, I absolutely must give this a try.
That's right up your alley. I look forward to your critique of it.
I might not like what I see, but I'm at least going to give it a try.
I found as I'm now a DCB service customer, my first month when I did it, the order was like almost $300. Like, wait a minute, I got to get this down. So each month successively, I've been reducing the number because I just can't afford, to get as many books as I would like. Plus, I don't have the time to read all of them anyway. So I just did my order for this previous was just over $100. So, like DC books I'm currently reading are not that many, frankly. Aquaman, only as long as Dan Abnett is writing it because I love that arc. Deathstroke, admittedly not that much. I had to cut a lot of stuff out just because of money, basically. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try the new Nightwing Kyle Higgins sort of Elseworld they're doing, which we'll talk about shortly. And a few other odds and ends, and that's about it. And, of course, Mr. Miracle #1 because it's Tom King, so anything he writes, I'm going to try.
That's on page 108, Mr. Miracle #1, and I am not going to make the same mistake I did with the Vision. Because when the Vision came out, I ordered issue 1 and just never followed and bought the rest of the issues. Of course, heard good things about it. Chris got me issues, I think, like 2 through 6, and I got the rest as it goes on. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to be in from the ground floor. I'm going to get it issue by issue, month by month, and read it month by month. So because I'm not going to make the same mistake twice.
That's right. Fool you twice, shame on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if I mean, I don't know. I wonder if behind the scenes if DC said, hey, we're going to give you this character who is a great character, but we haven't done that much with him lately. Are you going to apply your Vision magic to this, basically? I'll be really interested to see how they approach Mr. Miracle through Mr. King's deft hands as a scripter. And, of course, it's King Kirby's 100th birthday this year. So they're really pushing out a lot of the Kirby concepts, such as Mr. Miracle. So I can't wait to read that. But I jumped way ahead, gentlemen. What else did you want to say about DC earlier in the catalog there?
I'm getting Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. I'm getting both issues of Batman this month, part of the War of Jokes and Riddles storyline. More Tom King goodness. I might try The Flash, a new storyline starting this month on page 86. Negative. Barry Allen taps into the negative Speed Force, it appears. So let's see what influence Zoom's source of power has on him. Not good if we can trust the solicitation copy. I'm getting Red Hood and the Outlaws still because of Bizarro. Page 99, we've got Superman. Really fantastic-looking Doug Monkey cover for Superman number 28. It's a story called Fear Itself, and it involves Superman interacting with Sinestro and his Sinestro Corps, written by Peter J. Tomasi, Patrick Gleason, and sometime inker Keith Champagne.
Oh, actually, you mean the cover solicited here, the picture?
Yeah.
It's a Ryan Sook cover.
Is it?
Yes. Lower left corner.
Oh. Huh. Oh, okay, that's a cover to number 29 then. Okay,
right.
I'm sorry. I thought that was number 28. My apology. Well, we know what a talented guy Sook is, too. Mm-hmm. Either way, it is a beautiful image and an interesting sounding story. I'm also getting Titans. And then on the page right before the aforementioned Mr. Miracle #1, page 107, Future Quest lives on in the form of Future Quest Showcase, which hopefully will be an ongoing series with Jeff Parker and probably a rotating series of artistic collaborators doing stories with the various Hanna-Barbera like classic action cartoon characters, starting with Space Ghost and Jason Jaina and Blip the Monkey. And apparently there's the Hercules are around too.
On the opposite page, they're doing the latest installment in the DC Superhero Girls graphic novel series, Pastimes at Superhero High. So I haven't read any of these, but I love the style and look of them. Anything that's designed to get younger kids reading comics, I'm all over that. So more power to DC for continuing that line of books. And I was mentioning on page 109, just briefly before, Nightwing: The New Order, written by Kyle Higgins, art and cover by Trevor McCarthy, variant cover by Paul Pope. So the story of a future world without weapons. Weapons meaning where superpowers have been eliminated and outlawed. The man responsible, none other than Dick Grayson, a.k.a. Nightwing, now leader of a government task force called the Crusaders, who are charged with hunting the remaining supers. When events transpire which turn the Crusaders' aim toward Grayson's own family, the former boy wonder must turn against the very system he helped create, with help from the very people he's been hunting for years, the last metahumans of the DC universe. Well, I loved Higgins' work on Cal and Hadrian's Wall. So, and he's done some Nightwing also. So I'm definitely going to give this a shot. It sounds like a great sort of old-fashioned Elseworlds concept.
I see on page 110 we've got looks like a new Suicide Squad miniseries, which is going to feature some work by Mike W. Barr here in the first issue. Classic Copper Age DC creator. And it looks like there's a backup story there by writer Jai Nitz and artist Scott Eaton, which features Sebastian Faust. I remember him from the 90s Outsider series. Didn't think so. He's got a squad of supernatural characters he's calling Suicide Squad Black, and it includes El Diablo, as seen in the movie, Enchantress, and Gentleman Ghost. This character you don't usually associate with the Suicide Squad, but I think he'd work well with them. So it sounds like there are going to be a couple of interesting stories here. It's going to be kind of like an anthology miniseries. Different work from different people. Now, and speaking of different work from different people, Chris, Commandy Challenge going on page 111. You see who's doing this issue?
Murray, you beat me to the punch. I was going to praise this. Giffen and Rude. Ugh. I've been really enjoying the Commandy Challenge. I mentioned it before. Every issue, you have an all-star creative team that puts Commandy by the end in a perilous situation. The next team has to figure out a way to move the character forward from that. I've enjoyed every issue. I think it's a great concept and again, a great tribute to one of the great Bronze Age Kirby creations. So I highly recommend that book. If not the back issues, then get the trade inevitably when they collect it.
Scooby-Doo is meeting Top Cat in Scooby-Doo Team Up this month. Okay, so I'm getting that. Getting Bug, The Adventures of Forager, opposite page there. Okay, which is bringing us up to the Kirby Centennial specials that DC's doing this month. Each of which appears to be 48 pages in length, each of which will contain an original story and also some classic reprints to fill out the page count a bit. Lots of interesting-sounding creative teams involved on all of these books. I'm definitely getting Sandman and Manhunter. The others are kind of iffy.
I'm getting Darkseid because Mark Evanier is writing it, and of course he was an associate and friend of Kirby. He wrote, of course, the great biography Kirby, King of Comics,
right,
which I just reread recently for reasons that listeners will understand in the not-too-distant future. And
the art's by Scott Collins, too.
Yeah, that's the one I'm most likely to read, actually. I'm sure Chaykin doing Newsboy Legion will be very interesting as well. Also want to point out on page 127, I can't swing this myself this month, but this is a hell of an omnibus. Jack Kirby's Fourth World Omnibus hardcover, which collects everything Kirby did right through the Hunger Dogs with his original Fourth World universe. So $150 before discount. I'm sure it'll be discounted significantly on DCP service. It's Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, New Gods, Mr. Miracle, Forever People, Hunger Dogs. It's all here. So if you want to get in on the Fourth World and why it's so important in the history of comic books, this is the collection for you.
Well, I want to jump ahead to page 137. GAGA, the Green Arrow Golden Age Omnibus Volume 1 hardcover. This is extremely tempting. It's $125, but of course it's half off. DCBS only $62.50. But for the first time, DC collects the Golden Age tales that introduced Green Arrow. These things I don't think I've ever seen and probably never will see except in this omnibus because it's extremely tempting. I had it in my cart. I took it out of my cart. Haven't finished my order yet. I'm going back and forth because this actually is almost double what I have in my cart anyway. Where else are you going to get this stuff? So it just depends on the funding because they've reprinted because Kirby did Green Arrow.
He sure did.
In Adventure Comics, and that was reprinted in a trade, but that was back in the late 50s. This is like 1940s stuff here in issues I'll never get my hands on. But that's not your problem; it's my problem. So, but it's still a great collection. I'm glad to see him doing it.
I'm going to point out above that Flash: The Silver Age Volume 2, written by Broom and Fox, art by Infantino and Anderson. I love what DC's doing here. I love the packaging of these sort of era trades they're releasing, where they're going into the different eras of each of these major iconic characters. Beautiful production. $30 for over 400 pages. That's not bad at all for the Silver Age Flash Volume 2. And actually, back on page 135, Batman: The Golden Age Omnibus Volume 4 hardcover. So again, this is the new version of DC's Chronicle books, just in a more expensive and just more nicer packaging. But
right, you are.
If you're into the history, these are great collections to try out. So, wow, look at this on page 138. I've never read this in its entirety, but The Night Force by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. The whole series in a hardcover. Anybody read this?
I've read the first issue, and I think that little pull-out preview story that appeared in New Teen Titans, which is the solicitation copy tells us, is also included in this hardcover. So I've had a little taste of it, but yeah, I certainly haven't come close to reading the whole thing. But if I wanted to, I could have the whole thing in one hardcover package for $40. Nice to see the old Tomb of Dracula team work their magic in the DC universe.
Hell yeah. I have to point out, because it's just a great cover, and we're going to know you'd appreciate this, on page 142, the Astro City 47.
And did you see who the artist is?
Yes, somebody who's pretty good at drawing canine characters, none other than our pal Mike Norton. Because this issue is about D-Dog, some kind of human-canine hybrid who fights crime. So yeah, I buy it anyway because it's Astro City, and I buy anything Astro City. But yeah, and that our friend Mike is drawing it is an even bigger draw than usual. So yeah, definitely putting that in the cart. Well, a couple more trades on page 139 I wanted to mention. Volume 2 of Future Quest. Again, that's a series I talk up at every opportunity. Second of 2 trades of the 12-issue series, issues 7 through 12. It's just a big jam story of all these different Hanna-Barbera action characters thrown together in one exciting story, written by Jeff Parker, art by the exciting Evan Doc Shaner and others. And above that is a collection of all those little DC and Hanna-Barbera crossover one-shots that DC put out back in March. So they're all collected here.
If you're an Abnett and Lanning fan, they're reprinting their beginning of their Legion arc on page 130. I've never read these. I've heard they're very good. I've not read them myself. But if you're a fan of the Legion and or of Abnett and Lanning, I know these are recommended by many people who've read them. Have you read this, Mert?
This is actually when I jumped off the series after collecting it, both Legion of Superheroes and Legionnaires since 0 Hour. It's not that I didn't really know much about Abnett and Lanning at that time. It's Olivier Coipel I didn't like, and kind of still don't. So I took that as my opportunity to exit. I did not read the Legion Lost maxi series.
Yeah, well, these issues we printed here, I think, is actually the tail enders of those 2 series you mentioned.
Right, leading up to Legion Lost. So I do actually have some of those. I followed those series to the end of their numbering, and then just it was a year or 2 before I jumped back.
Ready for IDW?
Yep.
I wish Shane were here because IDW is doing another massive crossover with a bunch of their licensed properties, it looks like. So, First Strike #1. As Earth joins the intergalactic community, a massive explosion threatens the peace. A new Cobra, led by the worst villains to ever tangle with G.I. Joe, Mask, and the Transformers, is invading Cybertron. Only Scarlet, Optimus Prime, G.I. Joe, and the Autobots can save 2 worlds. Shane, this is for you. Holy mackerel. It's like every licensed property Shane loves in one book. Hopefully he'll check that out and let us know how it is. I'm not reading a lot of, just to go back to original theme, I'm not reading a lot of IDW right now. Nothing against licensed comics, just not much that I'm following at the moment, but I mean, they definitely have cornered the market on a lot of great licensed properties here. But not much that I'm reading, admittedly. Now, Merge, you still read My Little Pony, don't you?
Absolutely.
Is that your sole IDW title or no?
Yeah, it's not just the ponies. There are a couple of other things that I buy fairly regularly. Like the Craig Yo's Weird Love reprint series, digging up obscure and bizarre gems of the romance comics genre. I tend to buy every issue of that comes out. There isn't one this month. I did want to draw attention to page 164, which is the Real Classy Complete, complete with the pretentious, the archaic spelling of complete, Compleat, Bloom County, which reprints every single Berkeley-breathed Bloom County comic strip published between 1980 and 1989 in a 2-volume slipcase set for $100, 832 pages. I don't have an extra $100 to burn this month, but it's tempting. One of the better comic strips of its age.
Before I forget how influential Bloom County was in the 80s. I mean, I read it, but I didn't understand as much as I would if I read it now. Because there's a lot of great political commentary and subtext in it. But very important comic strip. Pants, I know you're salivating at page 170 and page 171. The late, great Bernie Wrightson, unfortunately just passed away just recently. I was releasing one of their Artifact editions. So they're working on DC Comics Mystery Series books, his legendary artistic turn on Swamp Thing. Oh, they're doing two different Artifact editions. One is the Swamp Thing. The other is his work on DC's like sort of house horror books. This looks gorgeous. Holy mackerel! Wow. Yeah, Wrightson is deeply missed. What a great artist. And if you missed them, on the other page, they have 4 Kirby artist editions reissued. The Mighty Thor, New Gods, Fantastic Four, and Commandy. Woof! Great stuff. I like to praise those art editions every month. They're clearly a labor of love for the company, and they're pricey, but believe me, it's if you have the money, it's worth it.
Happy to see on page 176 that Tom Zoller's Time and Vine is going to be more than just a one-shot.
Oh, excellent. I missed that. Thank you for pointing out to me. I'm going to have to make sure I add that.
All right. It's a story of an enchanted winery where if you drink the right wine in the right room at the right time, you're actually transported back in time to when that wine was bottled. There's a lot of potential in a concept like that, so I'm glad they're doing more than one issue of it. I think that's all I've got for IDW. Brian?
Oh, that's it for me.
All right, Image. Now, I mentioned this last month on page 188. I'm very excited, and my dear old friend Ryan is as well, because he introduced me to this book, that Matt Wagner is finishing his Mage trilogy. The Hero Denied, #1, 15-part series. I'm extremely excited to read this. Again, this is all about the reincarnation. Kevin Matchstick is like the reincarnation of Arthur Pendragon, wielding Excalibur in the form of a baseball bat, just his various adventures. The first two, if you have not read the first 2 volumes, I highly recommend them. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Wagner finishes his opus. But this is indie comics at its best, ladies and gentlemen.
Chris, I have you and your last Wild Pig sale to thank for the fact that I have the complete run of the first volume of Mage to enjoy.
Did you buy the hardcover?
No, I bought one of those packaged complete runs that you guys put together.
Ah, terrific.
I want to point out on page 192, annual. If for nothing else, the trade dress, how it eerily echoes 1980 DC Comics annuals.
Yeah, I saw that too, Pants.
My eye went right to it for exactly that reason. But the interiors are going to be pretty good, too, because it's a bunch of unrelated – it's an anthology. It's like 128 pages of unrelated shorts from the mind of writer Joe Casey and artwork by a bunch of worthy artistic partners like Jim Rugg of Aphrodisiac and Nathan Fox, Wilfredo Torres, and more. So it's bound to be high-concept, mind-blowing comics experimentalism, considering the source.
I'm interested in the adjacent page 193, Elsewhere #1, Jay Faerber, who did Noble Causes, right?
Correct.
Okay, which I enjoyed. It looks like he's taking the mystery of Amelia Earhart, and he's basically putting her, like, the fact that she vanished, and the fact that she ends up in a strange new world. I'm reading from the copy here. For the flying beasts and alien civilizations, Amelia desperately struggles to return home. On the way, she forges alliances and makes enemies as she goes from aviator to freedom fighter in a rebellion against a merciless warlord. That sounds really fun. That's probably worth checking out. I enjoyed his work on Noble Causes. Like the concept.
I enjoyed that Secret Identity series he did a little while ago.
That's right.
I'm going to hop back quick to page 190. Redlands #1, a new series written by Jordie Bellaire, lady who's best known as a colorist. I think this is the first time she's been the principal writer of an ongoing series. It's set in a small, sleepy town in southern Florida that's at war with, quote, a coven of killer witches. So, interesting concept there, and I'm interested to see what kind of writing talent Ms. Bellaire has. We all know what a great colorist she is, so I'm going to try the first issue, and it's 50% off at dcbservice.com.
I want to put on page 199. I've praised this book a couple times on the air. This is the trade of it, Hadrian's Wall. Once again, Kyle Higgins, where the Alex Siegel, art by Rod Reyes. Forgive me if I mispronounced that last name. This is a noir in space. It's fantastic. I have not finished the actual series itself, a little bit behind on it, but definitely worth reading. If you're a fan of Blade Runner or Alien movies like that, you definitely should check out Hadrian's Wall. It's an astronaut is murdered on a space station. A detective is brought on who's got all kinds of typical noirish sort of personal problems, and his ex-wife is one of the members of the crew, so she's a suspect. It's outstanding. Everything that Kyle Higgins has produced lately that I've read, Cal, this. I think this guy's one of the sort of underrated writers in comics right now. I think he does outstanding work, and I'm looking forward to his take on that Nightwing Elseworld I mentioned earlier in the episode as well. So, I recommend that. My other Image titles, just to go back to our original theme: Killer Be Killed, Lazarus, Saga. I noticed Rucka's Black Magic is coming back about a police officer who's also a witch on the side, and what she deals with when those two worlds intersect in a way that's not to her advantage necessarily. All books I highly recommend. This Image has so many great books, and I've mentioned this many times. And what I find that I'm reading a lot of the books from their company first. Whenever I get one of those titles in my shipment, or for the month, or for every 2 weeks. So for me, this is still the company right now when it comes to the books that are engaging me the most, and I always grab first from the pile. So again, if I had money and time, I'd be reading a lot more of these titles that are here, because most of them sound very interesting. I would recommend everybody take the time to go to the Image section. And there's something here for everybody. That's what I love about Image right now.
If there's any major publisher that really deserves to be called the House of Ideas these days, I believe it would actually be Image.
Now, gentlemen, unfortunately, because of our technical issues, I have to leave soon because I have to go pick up my kid.
Okay, Chris.
I could run through some Marvel stuff if you'd like before I do.
Sure.
There's a lot of things in here I wanted to point out. First of all, Marvel's also acknowledging Kirby's 100th anniversary, as is DC. And again, we're going to be talking a lot more about Kirby in the not-too-distant future. Hint, hint, hint. I want to point out the Generations, the Unworthy Thor and the Mighty Thor. So Marvel's doing a series of books where different versions of iconic characters are sort of meeting and teaming up, so to speak. And I'm fascinated by this one because it's Jason Aaron, so that's enough. But he's been writing Thor now for the past several years, and Pants and I have both been praising that effusively on the show over the past few years. So that's one I'm definitely going to be reading because, again, I just love Aaron's take on Thor, and he has the Jane Foster Thor and, of course, the Odin's son Thor teaming up, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm really enjoying Secret Empire. We'll talk more about that down the road. I'm reading Nick Spencer's Captain America books. I love his take on the character and what he's been doing with both the Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers versions of the character. I think very interesting and, again, very edgy. I got to get back into Amazing Spider-Man. I got like the first 20 issues. I haven't read them yet except for the first couple by Dan Slott. I think he's an outstanding writer and a great Spider-Man writer, so I have to get back to those. I'm also very excited about this book on page 24, Inhumans, Once and Future Kings. Now, you both know why, because Christopher Priest is writing it, with art by Phil Noto. And it's going back to the beginning of how the Inhumans, the royal family sort of came to be and their power dynamic, and no one is better at dealing with sort of the politics of a comic book universe than Christopher Priest. So I cannot wait to read this. I'll definitely be talking about this book on the air once it comes in, and I'll give my take on it. I'm always reading Infamous Iron Man because I love Bendis and Malev's take on Dr. Doom as Iron Man, apparently trying to atone for his sins. It's been a fascinating book. Bendis really gets Doom. Again, I've talked about Thor, which I'm reading without fail every month. I'm looking forward to Spider-Man Volume 2. I really enjoyed the first meeting of Miles Morales and Peter Parker some years back by Bendis. They're returning to that with Sarah Pacelli doing the artwork. Excited for that book. Again, a lot of books I would read if I had money and time. So I'm skipping a lot of stuff just because I can't read everything. But I'm very psyched for Luke Cage because there's David Walker. And I loved his Power Man Iron Fist he did with Sanford Green. I'm sorry to say that book has been canceled. And Walker's done a wonderful novel about John Shaft. This is wonderful John Shaft comics. He just gets blaxploitation in that world and the feel of that world. So I can't wait to see his take on a Luke Cage solo book. I've mentioned many times how much I love Jessica Jones by Bendis and Gaydos, the creators of that character. I read that religiously every month. if you enjoyed the show, you should go back, treat yourself, and go back and read the original Alias series, and then catch up with this one. You will not be disappointed. Silver Surfer, now on page 64.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Chris. I read this solicit, and it was like a punch to the gut.
Sounds like this is it, Pants. Black Panther and the Crew by Ta-Nehisi Coates and Butch Guice. I read the first 2 issues. Excellent. They're exploring some of the African characters and their ties to the Harlem of the Marvel Universe and a murder of an activist and the history of that on Earths. This is really well done. I really enjoyed the first 2 issues. Of course, I'm reading Black Panther by Coates, which I'm enjoying thoroughly. Some of the most lyrical and beautiful writing I've seen in a comic in recent years. That's a book I'd highly recommend, going back to the beginning on that. Thanos by Jeff Lemire is also on my list. Really enjoying Lemire's take on – again, the concept is that Thanos apparently is dying and how his son – is it Thane is his son's name?
That's right.
Yeah, is trying to sort of working apparently with death against Thanos now to sort of unseat him. It's fantastic. I love the Thanos character. Usually I prefer when Starlin does it, but I'm really digging Lemire's take on the character immensely. I recommend that book. These are all books that I'm reading month to month. And of course, as I go near to the end here, the Star Wars titles. I mention this every month. I had to drop a couple like Poe Dameron just because of money and time, but the Jason Aaron and the Flag title Star Wars has been consistently tremendous from issue 1 forward. I can't recommend this enough if you're a lover of that universe. I'm really looking forward also to Charles Soule's Darth Vader book, which should be coming out shortly, issue 1. Vader's apparently first mission as the Dark Lord of the Sith. Cannot wait to read that. I want to put a couple omnibuses on page 106. They're giving the classic Mark Waid and Ron Garney Captain America arc an omnibus treatment. These are classic Captain America stories. I remember how disappointed I was when this ended, and then we got that crappy Rob Liefeld reboot, which was just appallingly bad. This is Mark Waid. It's at the peak of his powers. Beautiful work by Ron Garney. If you love the sort of the essence of the Captain America character, read these stories. Also, the return of Sharon Carter. Great stuff. On page 107, this is also exciting. Again, I mean, it's an expensive hardcover. You can probably find these in back issue bins. But when they did the X-Men Classic series, Classic X-Men, when they were reprinting the classic Claremont, Cochran, and Byrne stories, they let Claremont write sort of like these gap mini-stories that kind of explain how things happen in between the issues you originally read, sort of filling in some of the spaces between these stories. Love the art by John Bolton, which is gorgeous. These are fantastic X-Men sort of between the pages, between the issues type stories. I highly recommend them. You can find a lot of classic X-Men issues in bargain bins, certainly in my shop, for example. So you don't have to buy a $125 hardcover, but they are great X-Men stories, and I do recommend them. Gentlemen, I apologize I have to leave to pick up my son. I'll talk to you both very soon, no doubt.
All right.
Talk to you both soon. Good night.
All right.
Good night, sir.
Good night. All right, well, I want to touch on some of the Marvel stuff that we sort of glossed over when Chris was going through, starting with Generations.
Before you get into that,
Okay.
let me just rattle off the things I'm getting from Image. Because
Certainly.
When Chris said he needed to leave, we just sort of rocketed ahead as was
Okay.
necessary. But I'm getting Gail Simone and Kat Stagg's Crosswind. I am getting, Kill or Be Killed, which is a favorite title of Chris's as well, as he said. I'm getting Kill the Minotaur. Haven't seen the first issue of that yet, but it's a comics adaptation of the myth of Theseus, so that's I'm a fan of Greek myth, and I'm on board for that. I'm doing The Wicked plus The Divine, and I think that's probably it. All right, back to you.
Okay. Wanted to touch on Generations from Marvel. First of all, this cover of the Marvel previews for Alex Ross did, where all the characters and all the gorgeous. You've seen this, right?
Yes, I have.
Oh my God! But I want to go a little more detail on what Generations is. It's a 10-part series of one-shots that stars Marvel's iconic characters and the heroic heirs, and leads into this fall's Marvel Legacy one-shot. This is really interesting. It's going to be weekly, 10 issues weekly between August and September. And the first batch includes the Thunder, which is the Thors, the Phoenix, of course, Phoenix, the Strongest, which is Hulk, the Best, which is Wolverines, and the Archers, which of course is Hawkeye. And actually, you can get all those in a bundle from DCBS at 45% off. It's an intriguing concept. I think I'm probably just going to get the Jason Aaron The Thunder one. But it's very intriguing to me, that whole concept.
I don't feel that intrigued personally,
well,
but like you, I think I'm probably going to get that Thor issue at least because it's the actual Thor teaming up with Jane Foster as Thor back in the days of ancient Egypt versus Apocalypse at the height of his powers as En-Sabah Nur back in those days. Mm-hmm. So just like the historical setting, I think, is what appeals to me more than anything else.
Right. And Chris touched briefly on Silver Surfer, so I'll go back to that. It's listed on page 64. Again, like this is just pretty much like a punch in the gut when I read this.
Okay, go through your mourning process here.
When the Silver Surfer first told Dawn Greenwood he could take her anywhere and everywhere, he forgot that everywhere includes the place where journeys end. Please join us for one final trip around the universe. And I've looked, and I can't see anything that is good. This looks like this is it. And this really sucks, because this is one of my favorite series that's out there right now. I just read issue 11, which was another emotional punch to the gut I wasn't expecting. Again, I've gone on about Dan Slott and Mike Allred are a fantastic team on this book. I just can't tell you how much I love this book. And if it is, in fact, going away, I will be very sad and will be buying very few Marvel books other than the Thor titles. But just a great book, not tied down too much in the continuity of what's going on outside of his universe right now. But hate to see it end.
Yeah, the books I'm planning to buy this month. I'm finishing up the Secret Empire main miniseries and avoiding just about all of the crossovers. Silver Surfer, of course, the aforementioned. There are 2 issues of Star Wars coming out this month having to do with the underworld of the galaxy. A Han and Chewie story and a Lando Calrissian and Sana Solo story. Let's see, I'm also getting the Charles Soule Darth Vader series, which is set between Revenge of the Sith and the original Star Wars movie. The first issue of that just came out this past week, actually. I'm getting the Peter David scripted Ben Reilly the Scarlet Spider series. 6th issue of that is coming out. The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Jeff Lemire's Thanos, and thanks to Chris mentioning the fact that Priest is writing it, I might try the Inhumans Once and Future Kings miniseries, too. Set in the past, like the early family history of the House of Boltagon, Black Bolt and Maximus the Mad and their cousins. So that's I think that's what I got to say about the ongoings and all the monthly comics. As far as trades go, there was one that I found was a little bit unusual and that I thought I should mention as kind of a caveat emptor. On page 128, the Legion of Monsters Bloodstone trade. The cover is an image drawn by the late Gil Kane, and it shows the classic Bronze Age monster hunter Ulysses Bloodstone. But the material inside is actually the adventures of Elsa Bloodstone, his daughter, who was introduced by Abnett and Lanning in the early 2000s at the peak of Buffy mania. Mm-hmm. She's supposed to be kind of a monster hunter in a Buffy vein. So it's a collection of stories from the 2000s featuring that character, so I don't know why this image of her father is on the cover. So for people who think they're buying a collection of stories of that character, it's actually his daughter that this trade is about.
Okay.
We got anything else to say about Marvel?
Nope. I think on to the rest of the book.
The rest of the book.
And as always, I like to start with Abstract Studios, page 246, Motor Girl. Issue 8 is solicited, and I just love that cover. Oh, they're here. Oh, gosh. All the little blicks and so forth.
Let's see. Under Action Lab, I'm continuing to buy Infinite 7. Number 6 is coming out here, which is by our friend Dave Dwanch. It's about a hapless teenager who accidentally kills a master assassin and thereby automatically takes his place in his Assassin's Guild. Funnest stuff. And also a new series from Action Lab on page 252. It's called Toyetica. It's about another world in which little pixie or brownie-like beings called Biddles coexist with regular-sized human beings, and they find work by marketing themselves to toy companies as models for dolls and action figures and stuff. It's called Toyetica, and it sounds like fun. I'm going to try the first issue.
It is kid-friendly, it says here.
Starting on page 256, good stuff coming out from Aftershock Comics, upstart publisher that's got a lot of good talent working for them. There I'm getting Jimmy's Bastards by Garth Ennis, and the latest effort from John Layman of Chew and Sam Keith of the Max, Eleanor and the Egret, about a lady art thief who can talk to birds.
But over in Archie Publications, I want to talk briefly about Josie and the Pussycats. I did a recent catch-up on that, and that is a fun series, and it's beautifully illustrated by Audrey Mock, but the writers, Marguerite Bennett and Cameron Diordio, hope I pronounced that right, really clever scripting. There's a lot of crazy puns going on in there. There's a lot of current events and just current
Contemporary cultural references?
That's it. Contemporary cultural references. You have it nailed. Once again, you have crystallized my thoughts eloquently.
I am here to help.
Thank you very much. It's a really fun book. I'm really digging that.
Yep. I just got an issue of Jughead, as written by Mark Waid, and co-written by Ian Flynn in my last DCBS shipment. That's the one where Sabrina casts that spell that makes all the women in Riverdale go nuts for Jughead.
I just read that.
Really fun issue.
Yes. So you read it?
Well, I skimmed it.
Oh,
I skimmed it in more detail than I usually do.
I'm talking to. Okay.
It was worth it. On page 283, I'm happy to announce the triumphant return after a couple of years' absence of the Zoo Hunters miniseries. So this is from Aspen Comics. It's a series about a father and son team of exotic animal hunters. They travel around to distant planets hunting down exotic exofauna to capture and bring back to zoos for preservation. And it's about how their relationship strengthens and is strained as they go about their daily business. They have a couple of rival hunters that they're up against. It's an interesting concept. I've enjoyed the first 3 issues, and then it went away.
Yeah, it looks like they were out in solicited back in 2014 because they're offered again here.
Yep.
So about 3 years apart. Between issues 3 and 4?
But I've been looking at Aspen's section of the catalog for a couple of years now, waiting for the next issue to appear.
Wait no longer.
Yes.
How about this on page 290 from Bongo Comics? Radioactive Man Repository Volume 1 hardcover. Ugh. Good stuff, Radioactive Man.
Almost positive I already own every story published in here.
Yeah, I do as well. But...
And I'm also sure that almost none of them were actually written or drawn by Matt Groening, but as the solicitation claims.
Well, he's like...
like Disney, for example.
Right.
Under Joe Books, the books that are supposedly written and drawn by Disney. Yeah.
But that's another fun... where they spoof a lot of the cliches and tropes and comics and covers and artwork. It's really fun read.
Yeah, really deftly done. Deftly and lovingly done.
Yes, exactly. With a wink and a nod.
Oh, and right under that, SpongeBob Comics number 71 is a special silent issue. Coming into Boom Comics here, pages 294 and 295. Something new from writer Greg Pak. It's a 4-issue miniseries called Mech Cadet U. That's YU, as in Stanford U, which is the name of the main characters. Son of a custodian who accidentally ends up bonding with a giant war robot. Apparently, these war robots are sent to Earth from outer space, and every so few years, gifted youngsters bond with them and use them to fight terrifying alien invaders. But then this kid, Stanford, is apparently kind of a jerk off, and he ends up behind the wheel of one of these robots, and nuttiness ensues. That kind of sounds like a cross between the Iron Giant and Ender's Game. Greg Pak is writing it. It's bound to be at least somewhat fun. And it's 50% off at dcbservice.com on top of that. Pages 298 and 299, there's a crossover. It's a 6-issue miniseries crossing over Adventure Time and Regular Show. It's a Cartoon Network series that are popular with fans of a certain age. Unfortunately, a certain age that's a bit above the Cartoon Network's target demographic. So neither of those shows is actually on much anymore. Cartoon Network preferring to focus on things like The Amazing World of Gumball and Teen Titans Go that 8-year-olds actually enjoy watching. These are two properties that I'm not sure will go that well together, so I'm not sure I'm going to actually be buying that miniseries. But on page 309, speaking of Adventure Time, I will probably buy Adventure Time Comics number 14 because there's a story by Fred Van Lente in it. And I always buy on page 308 Steven Universe and Over the Garden Wall, based on other Cartoon Network projects.
On page 324 from Dynamite, Sheena number 0 with a 25-cent introductory price, and it's only 12 cents at DCBS. How can you pass up a 12-cent comic? It's like the 1960s all over again. It's written by Marguerite Bennett.
It's practically free. And yes, Marguerite Bennett is of Animosity, and among other things. Mm-hmm. And the art is by Maura Tate of Elephant Men.
How about that?
So, I would pay full cover price for this, I think. But, 12
well,
cents.
You'd be full, too, when it's only 25 cents.
Or 12 cents.
Or 12 cents.
I think I can afford that. So, yes, that will go into my my list. Oh, my gosh. On page 326 and 327, Grumpy Cat and Garfield crossing over.
I love the one cover on page 327. Garfield goes, "I hate Mondays." Grumpy Cat goes, "I hate all days."
I love that his dialogue is in the form of a caption above his head. He speaks in memes.
I mean, it's cute. I mean, I won't be buying it, but it's very. But wait a minute. It's Mark Evan. You're writing it.
He's got quite some experience with
sure
writing
does.
Garfield stories.
Yeah. Did the animated series? I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He did write some episodes for that,
Yeah.
Or at least did English translations. I think it was like French produced.
What?
That CGI Garfield series from a couple of years ago on Cartoon Network.
I'm thinking like even earlier than that.
All right. I didn't even know he was involved in those.
Well, you keep talking. I'll keep looking.
Okay, yeah, but I know he wrote or at least translated some episodes of that CGI Garfield series that was, I'm pretty sure, French produced and aired on Cartoon Network a few years ago. But yeah, he's written a lot of licensed property comics over the years, going all the way back to like the 70s. He wrote some things for like Gold Key. But that's always been kind of his stock and trade as a comics writer. He does humor.
Yeah, the animated series Garfield and Friends
on CBS from the 80s.
That was him.
All right. Well, I'm sure he wasn't the only writer on that show. But yeah, all right. I did not know he contributed to that.
What, you did? So you mean I knew a cartoon from the 80s thing you didn't know? Score one for Pants.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I knew he wrote the first episode of the Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, now stop showing off.
It's also on CBS.
Let me have my victory. God damn it.
Well, can't I have a victory alongside yours?
No.
You can be co-victorious.
No. I get so little.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't stamp your little feet. You win. You win.
Hey.
But yeah, I probably also won't be buying this, but it's neat that it's happening.
Yes. Well, again, we try to point out things that are interesting, maybe not to us, but to others, because we can't buy everything. And, I mean, we can, but we shouldn't.
Yeah, just trying to...
Otherwise, we'd be broke.
Point out things that our listeners might enjoy.
Certainly.
Okay, well, as an example then, on page 328, The Shadow, another new Shadow thing.
Another new Shadow thing.
Yeah, there seem to be a lot of them. The Shadows
Again, nothing wrong with keeping, new number ones out there and highlighting it, I guess. But how many of these miniseries or number ones have there been? It seems once a year to me.
Yeah, at least. So this one is written by Cy Spurrier, who gave the world
Hair Club for Men guy?
I don't think so. He wrote Six Gun Gorilla. He's written some pretty strange stuff for comics over the past couple of years. Talented fella, imaginative. So this is a story about a man who appears to be an aging and badly burned version of the Shadow coming into the care of a young woman named Mary Jerez, who is a medical professional. And I'm pretty sure the story is going to end up with Mary Jerez assuming the garb of the Shadow by the end of the story. That's fine. Let's see. Since Dynamite is doing stuff with the James Bond license, we've got a Moneypenny one-shot written by Jody Hauser of Faith. That's on page 330.
By the way, I'm sorry. It's Cy Sperling who was the Hair Club for Men.
Okay. That's frighteningly close, though.
I know. I'm just being. I'm in a silly mood right now.
We're willing to believe that Cy Spurrier is like the Cy Sperling of Earth 12 or something. There's a new Turok series on page 332, continuing to leverage these old Gold Key characters. See, Fred Van Lente's Green Hornet meets the Green Hornet 66 meets the Spirit on page 341, the second issue of that. I'm getting Kiss Vampirella, the third issue of that.
Really?
And, yeah, of course, it's set in the 70s.
Oh, of course. Silly me.
And I kind of enjoy Kiss comics. I'm reading a trade of their early Marvel appearances right now, actually. Written by Steve Gerber and Ralph Macchio. Page 343, Mighty Mouse. You're going to continue with
yes,
that, right?
I'm continuing on with that, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep, me too, because
I
Charlie
think
Fish
the first issue hasn't hit yet. I think it's coming out in my next DCBS shipment, so I'm very looking forward to that.
Yep, it should be out this month. Oh, on page 350, something from Devil's Due, what remains of Devil's Due. A new series by Bill Willingham. That hasn't happened for a little while.
Wow.
It's called Lark's Killer, and it's about a teenage runaway who's been surviving by panhandling and pickpocketing on the streets of L.A. for a couple of years. And suddenly, without explanation, she's whisked away to a other-dimensional sword and sorcery world. And with even less explanation, everyone and everything there seems to want to kill her.
Okay.
So, and that's from the mind of the father of fables himself, Bill Willingham.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead here to page 438, Tomorrow's Publishing, Back Issue Magazine number 100. Huzzah!
One heck of a milestone.
Yes. It's a special 100-page centennial issue featuring Bronze Age fanzines and fandom. The story of the Buyer's Guide by Alan Light. An interview with the comic book price guide founder Robert Overstreet. Wow, Bob Rozakis' DC Comic Mobile Memories. A backstage pass of Super DC Con 76. Histories of the Comic Reader, Foom, Major World DC Comics. Oh, Christ. Oh, wow. I mean,
Charlton Bullseye, The Fawcett Collectors, Squaw
right.
Tront. Wow. Back on page 390, I've just discovered there's going to be a new Tick series for the first time in a long time.
Spoon!
Spoon indeed, old chum. It's going to be written by Cullen Bunn this time out.
Oh.
Guy gets around. So, yes, The Tick and Arthur versus Ninjas and Murder Clowns, as written by Cullen Bunn. I think I might have to try that. Haven't read a good Tick comic in a while. A couple of things from Oni Press I'm planning to buy. They're leading off with an OGN called The Tea Dragon Society, which is about cute little miniature dragons that participate in Japanese tea ceremonies. It's cute, but it's not $18 worth of cute, I don't think. So I probably won't be buying it, but it's an interesting idea. I'm going to get a couple of Rick and Morty things. There's that Rick and Morty Pocket Like You Stole It miniseries based on the Pocket Morty's phone app game. Rick and Morty number 29. And Kaiju Max by Xander Cannon about a maximum security prison for giant Japanese monsters. These are things from Oni that I will be buying.
I also like now, there's a big ad for it on page 403 and 404, but the full list is back on page 634. 635, a Scott Pilgrim precious little card game. It's a Scott Pilgrim deck building game. I'm all about the DC deck building game right now. This is quite intriguing because I really did love Scott Pilgrim, the book when we read it.
Oh, yeah. And the movie didn't quite live up to it, but
No, but this is really good. But it's like I don't need to be buying another deck building game when I don't have anyone else to play with it. So, but it is very intriguing.
yeah. And I like the name.
Yes.
Truth in advertising. From Paper Cuts, there is still a Gumby series going on, second issue coming out, written by Charlie Fish.
Oh man,
He's like the prince of licenses.
anything else in the comics for the back of the book?
It's not looking like it. There's not much going on in Valiant that's interesting me. Look, number 0 of a Matt Kint written Divinity thing. Apparently, this is it's kind of like the epilogue to a recent reality-altering storyline in the Valiant universe. It's about a superpowered godlike cosmonaut who is. He's just presided over some big reality warping hoo-ha thing that happened in the Valiant universe, and this Divinity number 0 comic on page 445 is about him kind of assessing the damage, making sure that the newly reformed Valiant universe is sufficiently similar to the old one. So it's kind of like a diluted version of the history of the DC universe.
Okay.
It's reviewing what's changed, what's remained the same. But yeah, I think that's about it for me for comics stuff.
Okay. I have a few things even further back. back in the magazines on page 486, it's the return of Pace Setter, the George Perez magazine. It's been quite a while. I think since like about 4 years we've seen an issue come out from them. I have a few of them. I remember picking up, there was a Crisis one with a cover of the Index with all the dead heroes on it that I snatched out of Peter the Rios' hands at a comic shop once. But yeah, good stuff. Just, fan magazine about George Perez, retrospective of his career and everything. And this one featuring his run on DC's Wonder Woman, timely as though torn from today's headlines.
Yep, I'm sure it's no accident.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, page 473 under books, there's a collection of, appears to be, there's like a collection of critical essays about Watchmen. Page 476, there's a book about the odyssey of the lost Disney character Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Character that is kind of a precursor to Mickey Mouse. He ended up lapsing out of Disney's control, and I think Walter Lantz, who created Woody Woodpecker, ended up in control of him. So it's now, since this is kind of published through Disney, the story of Oswald, it's going to be told, I'm pretty sure, from there's a certain amount of slant or bias pro-Disney.
You think?
I do. I sort of suspect.
I like that at the bottom of the page, right beneath that, they have some Doctor Who books, complete history, and they have the complete history volume 52. It's of the fourth Doctor, but pictured is the second Doctor. I like how it does say at the very bottom, not final art.
Yes.
Well, no kidding, Dick Tracy.
Good thing.
I'm going to make another leap ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Back to the games to page 630 from Cryptozoic. Again, more deck building games, but they have an expansion pack, a crossover pack for the DC deck building game I love so dearly, Birds of Prey. So I'll be picking that up. And they also have a new Teen Titans Go deck building game. So it's like, I got to focus on just the DC deck building because I'm all about that right now. But the other things are like, there's a Cartoon Network crossover Crisis game right there. There's a Rick and Morty game right there, Bird, for deck building.
Oh, temptations abound.
Yeah,
but as you say, it helps to have someone like a reliable source of players.
Yes. I can only play so many games by myself. All right, anything else that catches your eye in the catalog, front to back?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been through all the the swag pages, all the gimmicks and
All right.
statuettes and games and things, and nothing really jumped out at me. Nothing usually does.
All right, well, fair enough. All right, so that was our look at the previews catalog. And as always, this episode previous episodes are brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. So you can go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs.
If you'd like to send us an email, our address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, you can call 267-702-6642. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @comicgeekspeak. You can visit thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. That is our web presence, our listener forum, where you can leave feedback about this and many other episodes of our podcast, and also engage in discussions on various comics-related topics with your fellow comics fans and CGS listeners. We'd like to thank everyone who has donated to the show. We really appreciate it. Couldn't do the show without you. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.